What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Lucky Underdogs podcast. As always, it's your boy DB Devin Butler, and I
And
got
it's,
my dog with me.
and it's your boy
Yeah,
CJ Prosise, and we always here showcasing the underdogs of the week and the underdogs of the year, the guys who don't really get the opportunities, but when they get out there, they make the most out of their plays. So, but today, man, we got a special guest, my guy
a
Rocket
legend.
Ismail, man, a legend, Irish legend. Since the day I committed, knew about Notre Dame, knew anything about Notre Dame, the first person I looked up was like Notre Dame legends, and Rocket Ismail was like the top of the list. I looked at all your highlights, everything, your game
Yeah.
film, NFL, everything, and man, I'm always been a huge fan since the day I stepped on campus. So man, it's a pleasure to have you on. Pleasure to have this combo with you, man.
Man, thank
Most
you, young
definitely.
brothers, for having me on, man. And I'm looking forward to a great show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir. Before we start, I just want to let both of y'all know how I know Rocket, man. I'm gonna let y'all know right now.
Oh no!
Mhm. Mhm.
Boy, oh
Mhm.
man.
Let's go, man. Yes, sir. So
Yo,
that's how I knew. That's how I knew the Rocket, man.
check,
That's me.
bruh, check this out. So this is how my life has been. I grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Like
Mm.
my first
Mm.
introduction of football, I didn't even know it, but we were at a Super Bowl party. I was like 5 years old, and we were at this party.
Man.
All the adults were just like congregating and enjoying themselves, and my sister was the only one watching this little TV. It was like a back in the day, it was about a little bit like this, and it was black and white, and it was in the middle of the room on top of two milk crates. And I saw her like in an island, like all these people around her. She was like the lone individual sitting like crisscross applesauce on the floor watching television. And so I was like, yo, I'm about to go up and harass her. So I walk up behind her and I'm about to harass her. And then all of a sudden, it's like I notice what's on the television. Long story short, it's the Cowboys, it's the Steelers. My sister, she's explaining what I'm watching. She's like, this is football, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I like the Cowboys, and that's this team. I'm like, well, I don't like what you like, so I like the Steelers. I grew up a Steelers fan, and so now fast forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like my eighth or ninth, well, like eighth year in the league, seventh year in the league, seventh or eighth year in the league. And I'm a free agent. And the Cowboys call me up. All these other teams call me. I'm going to stay in Carolina. I'm not going anywhere. They call me up, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Mm.
I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't even like. I was warped when it came to like when we be playing against the Cowboys, and I'm on the field and they're on the other side. Like my mind was just like was in a bad place. So all of a sudden, Jerry Jones is like, "Hey, Rocket, this is Jerry Jones, and we really want you to be a part of the Cowboys." And I was like, "Oh, okay, hey, Mr. Jones, how you doing?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna stay here in Carolina." He's like, "Now, hold on now, hold on. Hey, we really want you. You don't have to make a decision right now. We got all off season, mind you. Every other team I'm talking to, as soon as I say thank you for calling me, but I don't want, there's about 5 teams. They were like, oh,
Mhm.
boom, on to the next one. We appreciate you. Thank you. And move on. Man, long story short, we flew down there. I ended up with the Cowboys. But why that's profound for me is because I understood that where the Most High wanted me to go in my life and has destined for me and the work that I have to do, it's so important and significant that there can't be there's a scripture that says uh, the enemy goes about as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. And I didn't realize this, but there are things in my life that I'm aware of that I'm like, yo, that's a vulnerability spot that the enemy can come and take advantage of. So I got to be on like, man, Lord, I got to keep this before you so I don't get got. But there's other parts
Mhm.
of my life I don't even have a clue that are vulnerable and I can get got. And the hate that I have for the Cowboys and on the level that I had for them was one of those spots. And why it was why I wasn't aware of it is because in our culture, and I'm talking about Western culture, in our culture, there are certain areas where you're allowed to emote in a hateful way that is acceptable across the culture, and sports is one of them. And it had gotten so perverted in my heart that I didn't even and if I communicated that to other people, they'd be like, well, I hate the Eagles, or I hate Washington, I hate whatever. Man, no one really like have ears to hear like, hey, young bud, you better need to get that right. Because then I look at it like, yeah, right, crazy. It's just sports. Nah, bruh, it's really on a deeper level of connection. So anyway, I love the Cowboys now. I love it. I can appreciate it. I got my
Yes, sir.
and I'm like everybody else, man. We going to the Super Bowl this year. I do get
That's what I wanted to hear.
Hey,
Hey,
yeah, I'm like
I
everybody
love
else.
that. I love that conversation, though, man.
but yeah, nothing but love from me.
Hell yeah.
Nah, I dig that, man. Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
one of my earliest memories was when you caught that touchdown pass from Troy Aikman in overtime versus the Skins. I was
Bruh,
legit, like I'm talking about a baby boy. Yeah,
bruh.
CJ, you gonna have to deal. You gonna have to deal with a little bit of
Yeah,
this
Right.
the
Cowboy
Cowboys.
fanboy right now,
Hey,
man. I'm sorry, bro.
I
I'm
I'm
already
sorry
knew what
sorry,
it
to
was.
say,
I
man.
already knew what it was.
bruh, check this out. That so now, mind you, it's like that first game. It is like a surreal moment because it's like all those years of hating and energy I did expended on a negative. Now we're in a brand new stadium, Washington FedEx Field. We're the we're the prime time noon-ish game, maybe early afternoon game for national television. Watch this. When I came to on my recruiting, I guess it's called a recruiting visit, down to check out the Cowboys, Jerry Jones was adamant about, now, Rocket, I know the Patriots are running the roost right now, but when the Cowboys are on television, 20 million more fans watch the game, and I have the papers. And he was like adamant about that. So in my mind, I'm like, 20 million more fans are watching this game. And all the NFL is because it was kind of like it was the way it was positioned. It was a premier afternoon game. So when I get in the huddle, I'm looking across, and there's Michael Irvin. Yo, that brother is profound. Let me tell you something. Anyway, I can talk
Yeah.
about him the whole thing. He is a profound human. That being said, I'm looking across. I'm like, oh snap, it's Mike. And then I'm like, Troy is calling the play, and I'm the first option. Yo, Emmett's right there. Moose is right there. Big E is right there. Larry Allen is right there. Mark Stepnoski, like all the guys that were significant in their glory days. And I'm sitting, and then I'm like, and then there's me. What is happening, Lord? Like it it was akin to my first Notre Dame game. And I wasn't even going to play in the first game. We were playing Michigan. It was a night game, 1988, 35 years ago. And I remember I was so, I don't know if shook is the word, but I was so emotionally unstable. And when I say unstable, I didn't know how to just like lock in and have like that ultimate confidence that I did when I was in high school. And I was like, yo, even if I have like the butterflies or the anxiety or the fear of stuff, I'm like, oh man, once the ball is snapped, it's about to be O-N, son. What's that spell? So
No, yeah.
I am feeling like what? And I was just like, man. And then it was like a movie almost, because it was like before we knew, we started the very first, that same play that we called in overtime, we ran that in like the first quarter. And you know how it's like 80 degrees. I don't know, it's like 90 degrees, but the humidity is high, so it's really hot. And
Yeah, that's where I grew up. So I grew up out there. So yeah, that was
old
perfect for me.
linemen love the big play, especially when you're just getting ready. We call a play, and now at that point in my career, I was real savvy. I knew how to play the head games. I knew how, so I was like, okay, Darryl Green is on me, and I know he got cause he was still fast. He might not have been as explosive, but he was fast. So I was like, I'm gonna cut my split real short, and I know it's gonna be a play action to Emmett, and I know that I can see the safety, the strong safety, get ready to come up. So I'm gonna run at him full speed, and then at the last minute, boom! And all of a sudden, I'm in the clear. I hear the sound of the crowd, like they're like how they can see the play develop, and they're like, oh. I can hear all that. Man, I turn around and the ball is like, this is like the second time this happened to me in my football life. The ball is like so high in the sky. It's like one time I was returning punts, and it was like the ball was so high and the sky was so blue, it like mesmerized me. And I was just like, oh, okay. And before you know it, the ball came down like, beep, 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 beep. And I dropped that mug. I take the walk of shame back to the huddle. And I'm so mad at myself because I'm like, man, I know how it is when you're like, man, we done brought this guy in. He's terrible, blah, blah, blah. So I get in the huddle and nobody said nothing but Big E. He looked at me and, he was the right tackle. He looked and he was the only one that could give Reggie White back in Reggie White's prime. He was the only lineman that can give Reggie White like all he wanted. Like it was no joke. Reggie White was a punk in him. Man, and he had his arms wrapped up all the way up and down like a modern day mummy. He looked at me. He said, bleepity bleep, blah, 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 blah. And all I know is I hear him. He reaches his arm back like this and wham! He hit me on the side of my head. Bruh, for the rest of the first half, my left arm was numb. He pinched the nerve, son. But
man.
I was so ashamed that I was like, you know what? I needed that. Dag nabbit. And long story short, the game ends up, check this out. We're in the huddle. This is how bad Michael Irvin. This is one of the awesomeness about Mike. We're in the huddle, and they had their game plan. They put Champ Bailey, who was a young, right out of Georgia. He was about 6'1.5", maybe 6'2", real lean, like thoroughbred DB, ultra athletic. So they were like, okay, they figured he could be physical with Mike. And they put Darryl Green on me because he's still fast and he could keep up. Both of them could keep up with me, but he's more, him more so. And I'm not that big of a physical mismatch to Darryl Green as Michael it would be to Darryl Green. So they put him on me. Mike is in the huddle, and on like 2 series, he was like, Troy, I'm gonna give him that hook on the inside. I'm gonna be like I'm doing it a comeback, but then I'm gonna hit him with the skinny move, and I'm gonna be open on the ride. And Troy was like, all right, bruh. Both times it
money
turned into big plays and touchdowns. And I mean, Mike is like dissecting them. He'd come back to the huddle and he would be like, oh, and Mike, he was the heart of that team. Like if he didn't get hurt in the fourth, like we played Philly, he got on a slant. Damn, they jacked his neck up. If he didn't get hurt, we would have went deep in the playoffs. Like that was the first time I was like, okay, this is the first time I'm on a team where the quarterback isn't the heart. And so like the quarterback is, and this is the other thing, Mike's personality, he didn't like bullies. So he would challenge you, but he would never bully you. But if somebody on it, like if it was a big dude and he was like trying to bully some little receiver or something, bruh, Mike he'll grab some scissors and stab you in the neck. Like it ain't no joke. He not putting up with nobody bullying, nobody on that team. So, and he was the heart and soul. So it was like I learned so much by being on those teams and being around those iconic players from the 90s with the Cowboys and being on the tail end of that, bro. It was a great experience, and I'm thankful because if I would have succumbed to the hate and was just been like, man, the heck with them, I never would have been able to add that to my character, my development moving forward.
Beautiful, man. That's beautiful, man. I appreciate you for sharing that, dog.
Oh yeah.
And we'll transition to some Notre Dame
Let's
talk now.
talk about Notre Dame.
I know CJ, like, but I had to, man.
I mean, listen, I already knew. I
That
was
just
like,
made
man, I
that
already
just
knew
made
you
my
got the
childhood right
Cowboys.
there, man. I ain't gonna lie, dog. That just made my childhood right there, for real, man. But yeah, so all right, so see, I'll let you go. See, you got a question for me, man.
Yeah,
You got
man.
a
So
topic you
I
wanted
mean,
to
I
bring
guess
up.
going covering Notre Dame this season. I mean, at this point, the
Mhm.
season is kind of over with. We looking for the next game. I mean, next year. So, I mean, we're going in the senior game. So, really, I just wanted to ask you, like, your time at Notre Dame. What do you, I guess, what do you see from Coach Freeman that you feel like, is he the right guy going forward?
So for me, I like the very first game. I was like, ooh, in the colloquialism of my era, yo, my man is shook. Like that first
Mhm.
bowl game, I was like, okay, he's learning on the job. Like that's how I
Yeah.
felt. And
Right.
so I couldn't be mad at it. I was happy that he got the job. I was happy that the players were happy that he got the job. I was happy, and it was interesting because remember when Coach Kelly um, he hired him. Whenever he hired him in the process,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was weird that he said this,
It
but he
was
was
weird.
like, I just hired the next head coach of Notre Dame. And I
Yeah.
was like, wait, he's defensive coordinator. What is okay? And it just went over like a regular, not a regular comment, like an irregular comment. But I was like, okay, that's down the line, 10 years
Right.
or so, you're gonna be there. But anyway, so I knew he had to do some on the job training. But then this is what I liked. I liked how when I don't remember how far along in the time that he was the head coach and the season had started, but he went to go and talk to Coach Holtz. And it's very important when you have elders who have walked the path that you're walking
Mm-hmm.
and you have access to them that you use that. That's one of the things, one of the weaknesses that I've had that where when I was younger, I had access to people, but I always felt like I would be bothering them, or I think I had such a my esteem of myself um, was so low that I wouldn't take not that taking advantages in a negative light, but I wouldn't take advantage of the wisdom that was available. So
Right.
I like that. And then I like that he has Al Golden on his staff because Al Golden was I think he was a young defensive coordinator or linebacker coach or something when he was down at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
Miami is from my days, Miami is a legendary program as well.
Absolutely.
So I like how he put somebody on his staff who has a similar experience in the background, and then now you're moved to the foreground, and like that he's wise enough to do that, and so those things made me like him, and then I what I also like, and this is something that Charlie Weiss was really good at, he reached out to the former players
Mm-hmm.
and was like intentional about, man, we want y'all back, and we're not closing the doors, and we're not just making it about this team and such, and that spirit is, I believe, what's going to allow him in the long run to be very successful.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah, I've always been impressed with Coach Freeman. I think he's they're definitely a great ad for Notre Dame, and I think he's going to leave a great legacy in his time there
Yes,
once it's all said and done.
yes,
Um,
yes.
so, well, one question that I wanted to bring up is we're talking about Notre Dame and senior days coming up, and I just thought this was a crazy number. I don't know if this was a lot, but 31 seniors are going to be honored
Yeah.
on
31.
Saturday. 31. That's a lot of
31.
dudes.
I think
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
lot of
Freeman said
dudes.
something like if they were like not if they didn't know if they were gonna come back or not, they could
Right, yeah. So
they
some
could
of
watch
them might come
Oh,
back, but
okay,
he's
okay.
giving some guys the chance and the
yeah.
opportunity that if you so
If you
decide
want
to
to leave,
leave, you got the opportunity to walk around and be honored as a senior at Notre Dame. And I think that is
That's
probably
nice.
some of the coolest stuff ever because I
yeah,
personally never got to do that at Notre Dame. I got into some off the field troubles my senior year, didn't get to play, and but I got the frame jersey and
mm,
the one with the little thank you for your years at Notre Dame. But it's something about being able to walk out there, we have your family out there in that field. There's something different.
Man, let me tell you something. I also never had that experience because after my junior years, after we played the bowl game my junior year, and so it's now 1991, and in the Orange Bowl in Miami. Flew home, and I wake up, my brother's like, "Yo, Chris Zor's mother died. He found his mother, and it was national news." And I remember, that shook me up, man. I was like, "Oh snap!" Like, and it was like, your parents can die while you're in college. Like, it was like it. My father died when I was 10, but in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get these 4 years, then go to NFL, and I'm provide for my mother and everything. And I thought that would be further down the road. All of a sudden, it was like, oh, reality came, and it was like I remember sitting there in the room, and I was like, man, well, I guess everybody said I can go pro. I guess I'm going to go pro. So I never got a chance to do the senior day, which I hate. I was voted captain. Rodney Culver, myself, were voted the captains for the what was going to be our senior year. So I never got a chance to do that. Never got
Right.
my equipment, my helmet. Never got any of the. I don't like you said you got a letter or something. None of those things. So I do think that is it's cool, and I think it's cool
Pretty
that
cool.
Marcus, even guys who might not know that they don't know if they're going to come back or not, still giving
yeah,
them a chance. Even if they do come back, they still have the chance to do that walk. That's a blessing, man. And I think I don't know when you're younger if I don't know if you appreciate it as much as you do when you get older. But
Right.
now, man, I appreciate all the stuff that I didn't really see the value in when I was
Mm.
younger, or I didn't see as much value in when I was younger. And so, man, salute to him, salute to all the seniors, and even guys that might walk out that tunnel and then they come back. We see them again next year.
Mhm.
We'll have to double salute you. But yeah, man, I think that's honorable.
yeah,
Definitely, definitely. I thought that was one of the coolest things. It reminded me of back in the day, like not back in the day, but 2012 when Jadeveon Clowney he got to walk out on senior day when he was a true junior, and I remember everybody was like, "Oh man, that's crazy. That's not even right." But at the same time, I mean, that man like that
he
he
knows
came,
about
he did what he could for this program,
it.
and like so, whoever that coach was way ahead of his time with that thinking. I think
Yes,
that's something
that
that we're
is
gonna see now because. Yeah,
Yeah.
dudes need to be honored
Like
regardless. Like if you
like Joe
come in and
Alt.
you put
Like everybody know Joe Alt gonna be a top 5 pick. So like
right,
he's
right,
not
man.
coming
And
back.
I love that. If your coach, man,
Mhm.
shoot, you go in your coach's office and they're like, son, I mean, I love to have you back, but you about to get
Yeah,
the next level is about to be the next thing you need to
Yeah,
go to. Man, I love that. That is great. That is great.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
No, we
yeah,
definitely love
big,
a
big
coach
shout
like
out to
that.
Coach Freeman for that one,
Yeah,
man. Big, big
Yes,
shout out.
yeah, man, for sure.
yes.
So like,
I had
so,
one. You had
you
another one?
know,
Yeah,
you
you
go
go
ahead,
ahead. My
Dev. You
fault.
go
My
ahead, Dev,
fault.
because I do want to ask. I want to ask because it's been a long time. I think were you on the last national championship team that
I
was?
know,
I
bruh.
think so.
I was on the last
Damn.
national championship team. I went to the last national championship game. Oh man, that was not a good experience. But bruh, that game, yo, and this is legitimate, real. In the stadium, because it was down at the Orange, no, well,
I was
not Orange Bowl, Miami Stadium, whatever I don't know what the name of it
CJ
is.
was there.
there. Yeah, I was there.
And bruh, walking around after this first half, the Alabama fans, they were so angry. Like I was walking, I saw them all over the stadium. They were just like, man, why did we even come to this game? This is terrible. We don't spend all this money now. We about to be throwing this team out. This is not even a game. This is terrible. Like All
Oh
of them,
man, disappointed. The
mhm,
fans disappointed in the W. Damn.
bruh. I was like, what has happened to college football? But yes, I
Man,
was a part of that last 35 years ago, bruh. That junk, man. I thought we was about to get in. Oh, dag,
yeah. So
Take you back, man.
my
I'm telling you,
question was
that's
like,
how it is, yo.
so what made that team just different? Like what the kind of was it just the relationships or was it just the it's just guys were just talented, but like what made that team different? Like,
the thing that I think ultimately made it different and what kept us from having how you have the big game and then you play somebody that on paper, man, you're supposed to beat these cats. And then you don't beat them. What kept us from that was we had like, I don't know, maybe 5 strategic 5th-year seniors that
mhm.
they were like, their mentality was such that they're running out of time to playing college football, and they understand that, hey man, when you're starting to win and you're starting to have success, they didn't take it for granted.
Yeah,
I, as a freshman, subconsciously, I'm just happy to be there, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's like my dream. I found out about Notre Dame, then all of a sudden I can go to Notre Dame. I'm like, what the savage this is all. So I'm just happy because of that. And now the gravity of, man, I remember Coach Holtz told one of the guys was Rod West. He was a highly recruited cat I think it was out of Louisiana. I'm not sure, but he told Rod West on his visit, because other schools were, big time schools were offering Rod. He said, son, your ass can come and be a part of one of the greatest transformations in the history of college football. Or your ass can go someplace else and watch it happen on TV. Like, he knew.
That's a good. You got
yeah.
the impressions. I
Bro,
ain't gonna lie. You got the
bro, I,
impressions, Rocky. You
hey,
got them joints down
hey,
pat, yo. You got.
I feel like I feel like and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm easily in the top 7. I'm easily in the top 7
Yeah.
as it comes to Coach Holt's impersonation. I just want to let that be known. Let's set the record straight. So all of a
Okay.
sudden, that mentality, our coach had that, and then it's the other thing. He had a very, like, he was a little, like, he might have weighed 150 pounds at the most, like the entire time, like really like 5'10" and a half, maybe, like, but he's little, but he's so quick witted and so ahead of where most guys are that can be beneficial. Like, he knows how to motivate, to inspire. And then you have those 5th-year seniors. Then he was an amazing recruiter. So every class is loaded with all of these outstanding athletes. And he had a very good, like, I didn't even know he was the offensive coordinator. Like, he would call a play, and like he just had a grasp of, and we just shot in Orlando last week. We shot he's doing a documentary is going to be released like in maybe the end of 2024 or early 25, something like that. And one thing about Coach Holtz, and this is another ingredient as to what made that team in that era, he, any game that a position struggled in, the next week, and it was like clockwork, the next week, because he was one of those, like, almost like CEO head coaches, but he was a CEO head coach, but he was in the mix. He would coach that position the entire next week, offense, defense, no matter of the line, DBs, special teams, whatever. And so he felt like, as a head coach, you need to know how to coach every position. And not that you're going to coach every position, but you need to know, and you need to know what allows each position, what the fundamentals are that allows them to flourish. Because if you have a supremely talented athlete and their fundamentals are intact, they're going to succeed more than they fail. And so that was one of the main ingredients. And this is the other thing. and this is something that I've learned to appreciate as I was introduced maybe about 15 years ago to like quantum physics. They call it quantum mechanics, and just the power of, you know how when people die they say our thoughts and prayers are with you. And I used to be like, well, how can they don't just say a prayer? What's your thoughts? Your thoughts are energy as well,
Energy.
and when there's a collective and one specific thought, when all the thoughts are in agreement for one uh principal thing to be accomplished, then it, in even though it's in the thought realm, if you will, which is like the spirit realm, it affects the natural realm. So I say that to say those thoughts were in the zeitgeist. People who were in a position of authority who remembered Notre Dame in the 70s succeeded, and then all of a sudden it dropped off. It's like they started getting excited because of what was their youth was looked like it was a resurgence. And then we get a call here or a call there. Next thing you know, man, we're going to finish the season undefeated and win a national championship. So it was like all those, so many different little things that added to the whole came together at one time. And that, for me, is why we were able to win a national championship that year. And the first thing that I said, now the fifth year guys after our freshman year are gone, and so the next year it's like we're I think we were like a 23 game winning streak or something crazy, and here comes Stanford, and Stanford is on paper, come on, man, these cats aren't supposed to beat us. And what I remember, I got dinged up the week before, so that as a precaution, they kept me out of the game. And I remember all of a sudden, we're out there, and we're going. It's like we're going through the motions, not in a lazy way, but it's like we're just doing what we normally do. But it's like we're not locked in. Next thing you know, we're in a battle, and we find ourselves coming back in needing the last drive of the fourth quarter to come back. Coach, we get in the red zone. Coach Holtz calls a timeout. I'm standing right next to him the whole game. He literally gets on his knee. He calls a protection, and then he draws a play that we never ran. He draws it in the dirt. And long story short, everything worked just like he said, except the defensive end that the tailback had to block. He got more momentum, and he was further in the backfield than otherwise should have been. So Rick Meyer, who was the quarterback, instead of him throwing and following through, he had to throw off his back foot, and the ball was just short of a wide open Derrick Brown in the end zone. So it was like, if I believe if we would have had like the leadership that we had the year before from a player perspective, I feel like we probably would have had some back-to-back wins. And Coach Holtz did share this. When we went down to Miami that year, one of the things that he did unwittingly was he made sure that we knew if anybody got into a fight, or if anybody, because Miami, they would always try to punk us. And my freshman year, they tried that. And, even though the shirt said Catholic versus convicts, it could have easily said convicts versus convicts if we really, really wanted to, to get to the heat of the matter. It wasn't, we were just like borderline convict. I remember,
Talk that talk.
I remember Todd Light's father said, "Hey man, the key is you just got to get a thug who listens to his father." We had a lot of guys on our team who had that, but they had fathers that they listened to, so it was like it didn't get out of control. Now they're dealing with the law. So the mentality that we went into the Miami game with was, man, Coach, he felt like he inhibited us, and he took away. Man, football is an emotional game, and hey, man, that's just what it is, and especially back then. So we went into that game. We lost the Stanford game, and then we went into the Miami game, and we essentially, it's like one hand tied behind our back, hostile environment. We ended up getting the brakes beat off us. And this also, I remember when we came back from that game, because that was the last game of the season, he called me to his office and he told me that not only was that emotional restriction put on us, but he said he should have had me in the backfield because we were more of a running team. We threw every once in a while, but we were more 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And he said, like, son, I did you a disservice. I should have put you in the backfield. He said, every time you touched the ball, you were getting like 10 yards a clip. And the way the environment was going, I should just hand it to you. So I'm going to put you at tailback going into the bowl game. And so I played tailback in the Orange Bowl, but we already lost 2 games. So we finished in top 4 or 3. And I think Miami might have ended up winning national championship. But it's a lot of little things like that, man, that go into winning. And I know I'm talking a long time, so I'll stop.
No, you good, man. Listen, because that's what we needed to know, and that's like the perfect storm, and you giving that insight that a lot of people don't have, and a lot of people need. You know what I mean? Because this is the stuff that's going to help to let these younger cats know how you build that formula, how you build that right recipe, how you make those right ingredients, so that you can have that winning product, man. So you can put out a championship meal, man. Because that's what we need. It's been 35 years. It's been way too long since Notre Dame's had that. I feel like in our time, CJ, we were very, very close. Like we had just some things that was missing. I ain't gonna say what was missing. I can't call it. I mean, I can state my opinion on what it was.
Yeah,
but I mean, I know we just had some things missing. I mean, the stuff that you was talking about, we had a lot of those things, but there was some things of that we didn't quite have. We didn't have a Lou Holtz or nothing like that. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We ain't had one of those. We ain't had an Abbott like that. We ain't had one of those guys that was holding it down like that. You know?
Bruh, Coach Holtz, he's like a generational cat. Like even when I see dudes like Nick Saban, I don't know how his football to me is on point, but he reminds me more of Belichick. But it was like Coach Holtz was like had the fear that you have of Belichick, but he has the wittiness and the quick zingers, and then the caring, like he has all, like it's all, and it's like that's a rare. Like I said, he's like, you know how in football they'll say, oh, so and so is a generational talent. Coach Holtz is like a generational talent kind of guy in the coaching realm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. He reminds me a lot of like Pete Carroll, just like their kind of like demeanor as far as like players coach, as far as, how they, I'm like Pete, Pete's a like genius football mind as far as, defense wise. And so I never seen him drop and play in the dirt, like no Lou Holtz.
You feel me? That's next level though. That's next level.
I can't speak for that, but no, as far as like the demeanor and like just the motivation, like on a day-to-day basis, I feel like it kind of like relates, because I just from hearing to like Coach Holtz speak a couple times, like it kind of gave me that Pete Carroll the vibes, because they just both the motivation wise, they really really good just every day, can just get you going somehow.
That's a great. I like that comparison. I didn't even think about that, and I remember his first NFL stint when he was with the Patriots, and they weren't like thinking about how the Patriots are now. They weren't like that. And I remember reading something on him or hearing something, and I remember it was like he was like he wasn't going. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he wasn't going to stand for not being able to reach his full potential. And he did. There were certain things that were philosophies that he was starting to enrich himself with, or attitude adjustments and things that. And then, man, he went to SC. Man, that thing just took off, and then he brought it to the NFL. Bam, took off again. So I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's Lou Holtz is definitely
Pete Carroll's definitely one of those moms, motivators of men, one of those great motivators of men. Man.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely wanted to touch on two things. It's kind of like a two-parter.
Okay.
So I did my 5th year at Syracuse. And, I know your bro was there. Oh yeah, they had him all over the spot, just like how you all over the place at Notre Dame. Bro is all over the spot at Cuse, man. I'm telling you, that's his spot, man.
Bruh. So watch this. I remember I was doing something, and there was a guy there, and the guy said, "Hey, don't you find it interesting that you went to Notre Dame and your brother went to Syracuse?" And I knew he was trying to bring out a deeper meaning, but I was like, no, he was pretty good athletes, blah, blah, blah. But and he wasn't even on that level. He was like, hey man, do the research of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, and then do the research of the Orangemen. And in my mind, I'm just like, I just figured the Orangemen was somebody that came out of Florida, landed the oranges, came up there, had the money, started school, and they're the orange. Bruh. It's
Nah, it's a
long
native
story
tribe,
short,
yeah.
it's a reason why the Irish flag is orange, white, and green. It turns out that the Orangemen were the Protestants that ruled the island, and that the Fighting Irish were the Catholics, and the conflict that they had. And Syracuse got their name from the Protestants that on the Irish islands were in control and had the conflict with the Catholics. And the Notre Dame, we already know we down with the Catholics. So the fact that both of us went to like faction schools on that level, but on another level for me and for my brother, when we were in high school, so I'm talking uh 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, like we had junior and senior high school in the same building. Man, Syracuse football was in the East
Don
Coast.
McPherson was doing his thing.
Bruh. They were the
Mm-hmm.
beast
Mm-hmm.
of the East. They had the fire facility. The Carrier Dome was no
The
joke.
dome.
They had the senior housing on top of the hill, Sky Top. I think it's called a Hilltop, something like that.
Yeah.
With the apartments and all. Man, the facility, the hoop squad was like they were the beast of the East. Like nobody was coming up to
Yeah.
when we were in high school. I don't care what your rank was. Nobody was coming up to Syracuse, any team in the country, and thinking they're going to have an easy day. It was not happening. So I just like that was a pivotal moment. Like we would so look forward to making that 3-hour drive from Wilkes-Barre all the way up to the mountain. I mean, all the way up to upstate New York, to Syracuse, and it was lovely. And then, bruh, the first time I ran a fast 40 was at Syracuse. I'll never forget it. And I think it was my the summer before junior year, and it was a football camp, about 300 little boys up there. And, you know, Penn State was in the region, so going to Penn State was a big deal. Going to Syracuse was a big deal. Bruh, my freshman year in high school, I ran a 4.7. But I thought I was blazing because nobody was beating me. I'm telling you, when I was in Newark, I was like top, and I was always a little dude. I didn't weigh 100 pounds till after my sophomore year. So, I mean, I was always a little dude. My shoulder pads would stay on my shoulder.
Shit. Oh man.
It was crazy. They'd be leaning all the time, leaning to the side. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking 4.7 is blazing. So we go up to the camp, and they just take us to the Carrier Dome. I remember it was Mike Wosick, Randy Etzel, and I think Ivan Fears. Those were the coaches that were running the 40. And they were like, yo, run down. Coach Etzel was down there with the stopwatch at the finish line. He's like, hey, run down to him. He's going to give you a time. Then you come back in line and you give it to us. We'll mark it down, and then the next in line. And there was so many of us, they had to like go.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, bam, bam. So my turn to get up. Mind you, I just know I'm about to run a 4.7, 4.6. Like I just felt like this was about to be O-N, son, and we already know that spells on. So now I'm down, come out, and you know you slow down, then you turn around, you come back. Bro, they were holding. Let me see how they did it. They were holding their stop, and they were looking at the watches like this. And so I was waiting. I said, Coach, what did I run? Randy Estes looked over at I think it was Ivan Fears over there. He said, hey, man, what'd you get? And then Ivan was looking at us like, yeah, man, what'd you get? And then they both looked at me and said, hey, can you run that again? I was like, oh, okay. So I jogged back down. I said, hey, what's your time? I was like, I don't know. They told me I have to run it again. They're like, oh, geez, we got all these dinners. I'm like, hey, I just get down, do your thing. So I get down, pop, bam. I come out, I turn around to go back. They're gone. They're not even there anymore. And you know how Syracuse, the field and the stands are like right there. It's right up
there.
all the coaches and the parents and like the little brothers. There, everybody's in the stands. It might have been about 200 adults in the stands. And so they're over there and they're having this big powwow with all these coaches around them. And so when I was little, anytime adults were talking and the children tried to like eavesdrop or come over and say, what y'all doing? And boy, you stay out of grown folks' business.
Yeah.
That's what they did to me. I came over there to get my time, and they were like, let's go back down there. I was like, oh. So I go back down, and the coach was like, what's your time? I was like, they wouldn't give it to me. All of a sudden, like an audible wave, like how they do a wave, but it was just with the acoustic, the sound, you just hear, they're like, only 40 yards away. It's like, and then as it got about 20 yards away, you hear 4-3, 3-4-3. He ran a 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. Man, bro.
Blazing.
I was like, wait, 4-3? It was like if somebody would have said you ran a 4-1 today. That's the end. I was like, wait, I can run a 4. What? I remember my coach and Mr. Dwyer, he was a volunteer parent coach. Man, soon as the whole, all like I said, it's about 200 adults, it's about 300 little young football people. Everybody's like, oh, man. And my coach came to him. We got to be back home. And so for me, Syracuse in my life growing up and in my athletic life, it was a significant part of the development and the realization that the dreams that I had when I was a youngster and how I imagined myself, it had a significant role in confirming that, hey, man, what you imagined is now going to manifest and be reality. And so it holds a special place in my heart for sure.
Yeah. Is that how you got the nickname Rocket? Is that where Rocket came from, or where did Rocket come from?
Check this out.
Yeah.
7th grade.
Lay that. Oh, we're going viral. We're going viral with this one. With the explainer of the Rocket. Oh, we're going viral. We're going lit. We up.
So we get to the high school in 7th grade. I ran track in what they call it, the Pennsylvania dagnabbit, the
Penn relays.
No.
Oh, I think
it's not AAU. Keystone State games.
Okay.
So I run track in the summer in the Keystone State games, and like I said, I was really tiny. In 100 in the 7th grade, I was running like 12 flat. Like I was blazing. But if you were like a little taller and a little more physically mature, I never got beat, but I got tied twice, man. These big old white boys was on some straight, looking like they was on steroids in the 7th grade. They was coming in like, yeah. So now it's 8th grade, and you're allowed to go out for track. I go out for track, and in Pennsylvania, the snow is still on the ground in the winter time. Well, in the transition from the winter to the fall, to the spring. So we had to practice indoors. Our coach, his name was James Jim Cross. They called him Boss Cross, and he was built like a well-built fire hydrant. My man was stocky, about 5'7", 7.5", maybe 5'8"-ish in that realm. And he had a drill, and they didn't call it the dry phase back then, but he was teaching us how to come out the blocks and to bring the example home. At a certain distance, he put a dollar bill on the ground, and that doggone dollar bill, he said, if you come out the blocks correctly, you can swoop the dollar up and simultaneously and still keep your drive phase on, and you can finish it. So you can finish it correctly. Because being in 8th grade, we're at the back of the line, in the upperclassmen, setting the example in the front of the line. It might have been about 12 or 15 sprinters with the senior high and the junior high combined. So everybody's going, nobody's picking up a dollar. Everybody's going, nobody's picking up a dollar. And now it's my turn. So I get in the blocks and I come out, scoop it up. And he's like, hey, oh, this is the other thing. He spoke like the Penguin from Batman back in the day. And if you watch the old school Batman with Adam West and them cats,
Adam West, yeah.
That's how he talked. I came out, so I did it. He's like, hey, wait, come here. Did you see that? He's talking to all the people, but he's like, hey, do it again. So I was like, okay. So he puts the dollar back down, and I get in the blocks. Bang! I pick it up, and he's going, but he's like, hey, that's it. Come here. Wait. He came out the blocks like a rocket, and man, and this is no exaggeration. From that day to this day, that is what I've been called, and it has been appropriate on so many levels, not even on just the speed level, but even the Most High showed me the spiritual meaning of it. Man,
the extension of it, yes, sir.
It was a significant time, and it was 8th grade when it first happened. Salute to Boss Cross, out the high school track coach that made that thing come to be.
Shout out to Boss Cross now for sure. That's a good story right there, man. The Rocket, yo.
That could be the best nickname of all. Like that could be the best nickname
of all time.
Sports,
he got Boss Cross got to be in the Hall of Fame of nickname giving for that alone. Period, yo.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you what's hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious, but I pondered this several times. So for the first 10, 11, 12 years of my life, I was born a Muslim. My father studied at El Azhar University, Cairo. He was a Christian, but then, white people was not representing what the Most High is supposed to be representing back in the day. So he went overseas, taught English at El Azhar University, became fluent in Arabic, became a chef, and was like, yo, this is the religion. This is the spiritual pattern Black people are supposed to follow. And if it wasn't for the fact that it had, and this is my experience when I was I was about 2 years old, I started having I thought I was having nightmares. Ends up, I was being attacked demonically in a supernatural realm. And as a Muslim, I always tell people, I love being a Muslim in the natural, but when I started, and everybody doesn't have this in an overt way, all of us have it in our existence in this realm, but in an overt way, not everybody is going to see spirits or encounter spirits that they know is like, yo, I'm in the spirit realm and I'm displeased with you. So I was being tormented by these devils, and as Muslims, and my father was a sheikh, so he wasn't just like running the mill cat. He was well studied in the hadith and the Quran. He wasn't Hafiz al-Quran. He was an El Hajj. He made Hajj I think 3 times. So we were like little Muslim superstars growing up, man. Like the Muslim version of the mega churches in New York City during Ramadan and the Eid celebrations, man, they would take us up. The imams would have us do the dhikr after we made salat, like all like stuff like that. So I remember, and I said this because we talk about the name Rocket and just in that lane. I was like, man, Rocket may never have come to be because the way we got our name, our family name, when my father was born Lawrence Skinner. So his father got the name Skinner because my grandmother and her parents, they were right at the tail end of slavery. So the Skinner name came from the family. They wanted a job. They were like, they skinned the mules and then they treat the leather and start, make stuff out of it. And so my father's name was Abraham Skinner, and the last name that is my last name now was the last name of my great grandmother's so my great great grandfather's his he didn't have a last name. His name was just Ismail. He was a slave that came up from Cuba because the slave ships would go down to the Caribbean first, come around, then go up the coast, and just kind of do that circle. So Ismail was our oldest kind of like connection to Africa that we knew from Cuba, the whole nine. And so my father was born Lawrence Skinner, and when he became a Muslim, he changed his name, and he was like, okay. What he did was he took his father's first name, so the Hebrew pronunciation is Abraham. He took the Arabic pronunciation Ibrahim and took that as a first name instead of Lawrence, and as the last name for the family name, he took the name of the oldest slave that we were able to like identify, Ishmael, and he took that and said instead of the Hebrew pronunciation Ishmael, he took the Arabic pronunciation Ismail, and that was the name that he took, Ibrahim Ismail. Then I was born Raghib Ismail, my brother's Kadi Suleiman. Well, sometimes I'd be like, man, what if he never became a Muslim and he kept his name Lawrence Skinner, and then I would have been, he probably would have, because I'm the oldest son, he probably would have named me after him. And instead of Rocket being my nickname, I'm walking around here Larry Skinner up in this camp. And I was like, I don't know if that would have
worked. Yeah, that's somewhere off in the multiverse, man. We're gonna leave that one alone, man, because we didn't rock it. That's a great story, bro. Like
the multiverse, man.
Yes, sir. Man, that's a beautiful story, dog.
I be thinking like that sometimes. Like, yo, man, this is a wild life you live in, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, indeed, man. I definitely I appreciated this conversation so much, man, and I really enjoyed just being able to pick your brain a little bit, dog. It's been so fruitful, and I definitely want to connect with you a little bit more after we get off of here, just so we can continue some of these conversations for sure, man.
Bruh, let me tell you something. Numbers, email, y'all got all that. Whatever you need, however you need it. If I can help, I'm here. I do know this. All of us we come into this earth, we have significant value and we don't realize it. But the forces that are currently in place in the world, I call them the powers that should not be, they realize how valuable we are. And they assault us as soon as we get into the womb, man. As soon as that doggone sperm hits that daggone egg, and that let there be light manifest, and they understand that we are the manifestations of the let there be light. The scripture says the life of Christ is the light of men. Mankind in us is that light as well. And as such, we are a threat to the system, especially when we're in order. So it's very important that as we become awakened and aware of what is in us that's supposed to be out, that getting it out is shining your light. And any way I can help add or answer questions or encourage or in any way, man, I'm here. So yes, that's real. That's no
cap. Yeah. Yes, sir. No, I definitely appreciate that, man. Yeah, so it's been a real episode. This might be the realest episode of Lucky Underdogs we done had, man. I definitely appreciate you for coming through, dropping the jewels, giving us great background knowledge to you, your life, man, and them good old Cowboys. You know it's coming, man. But everybody out there, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Lucky Underdogs podcast, brought to you by Believe Network and Good Men Productions. Signing off, it's your boy DB.
It's your boy CJ. Out of here.